Angels waging war in the unseen realm. Global events fulfilling biblical prophecy. Eternal life. What lies beyond mortality? From analyzing the paranormal from a biblical worldview to the discussion of cutting-edge science and technology. Conspiracy, discovery, special investigative reports. Unafraid to explore the challenging issues facing humanity. Welcome to another edition of SkyWatchTV.
The Bible tells us to train up our children in the way they should go. But how do we do that in an age where we are inviting strangers into our children's bedrooms through the internet that we wouldn't allow past our front door? This is SkyWatch TV. I'm Derek Gilbert. Joining me in studio today, the two newest members of the SkyWatch TV team, and we're delighted to have them here, Josh and Christina Peck. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
It occurs to me during our last conversation, we talked about your family and really the miracle of the family, because as you told us, you weren't supposed to be able to have children.
That's right.
You've got two young children under the age of 5, approaching school age, a third on the way. They're coming up in a generation where they will be connected to the internet almost from day one.
Yep.
Now, our daughter's 26 or 20, almost 26, and she didn't get into the internet until she was, 5, 6, 7 years old. But now, kids are practically coming out of the cradle with an iPad or an iPod or some other web-connected device, which gives the outside world a window into, to them, and things are passing through that, people my generation never had access to because our parents wouldn't allow it. The only window to the outside world was the TV, and Dad kept the remote.
Right.
Yeah.
For young families out there, you guys are facing a challenge that even my generation didn't have to face. How are you guys preparing to deal with that issue? How are you training up your children in the way they should go when the world is trying to send a contradictory and anti-Christian message to them 24/7?
Yeah, and it's strange too because we grew up in the 80s, so we didn't. That was before the internet really became a big thing. I remember being in 6th grade when the school finally got an internet connection, and it was just the dial-up. If there were too many people online, you couldn't use it, kind of thing. So it was really in the early days of it. So it's strange for us, and we're kind of trying to figure that out as we go along. But I think what it really comes down to is the messages of the Bible. It's timeless. God knows the beginning from the end and the end from the beginning. So He knew all this stuff that we're having to deal with, and I believe that He put messages in the Bible for us to be able to glean from that. So we just do our best to raise them up based on the Bible. And, there's little things too, like our daughter, Jackie, she loves playing games and stuff like that. And so she has our old Nook that we don't use anymore. We only ever get online with it to download like a new game for her, or like some kind of learning thing. And then we immediately disable the Wi-Fi. And she doesn't know how to get in, like she can't get into it. So we don't let our kids, and our son, Nathan, he's only 2, so right now it's not a huge issue, but at least for Jackie, we don't let her use any kind of online anything unless we're right there with her. And even then, she might play on her phone a game or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just keep the Wi-Fi disabled. But yeah, I think in a few years, that's something that we've had to talk about. How are we gonna really monitor this, because just to be able to make it in the world and to, get around, you got to have a phone, a computer, all this stuff. We don't want to shelter our kids from that, but we want to be able to teach them to use it responsibly and teach them, be honest with them about the dangers that are out there and not try to shield them from that.
Right.
So you guys are in kind of a grace period right now where they're both kind of young enough that they don't really understand the concept of internet and what is available out there on the internet, which reflects both the best and the worst of humanity. I mean, frankly, without the internet, you wouldn't be watching this program right now probably, but there's an awful lot out there that is really horrible.
Yeah.
When you just a couple of years removed, I think, before Christina wants to, or before Jackie wants to start, accessing websites on the internet. We went through this a bit with our daughter when she was just a little older than Jackie is right now. There were there was an online site in particular where you got a little virtual pet and you had to feed it and care for it on the internet. And it occurred to us, as suspicious as Sharon and I are, that there might be people who weren't who they said they were, because you could chat with other pet owners on this website, and it occurred to us that there might be some people there who weren't who they said they were. And we had some discussions that got heated because she didn't understand the way of the world. Have you guys talked at all about how are you going to deal with that when the situation arrives?
We kind of believe if the children are old enough to ask the question, they're old enough to get the answer, Yeah. And maybe just the basic, version of it. But because in a couple years she'll be 6, 7 years old, so we're gonna have to, figure out what to do. But I think mainly it's just being real and honest with her about, well, there are dangerous people out there, and it is so easy for somebody with bad intentions to pose as a child online to gain trust and everything.
Right, and we've already kind of had a discussion with her. Like, she is so sociable. She goes up, she's like, hi.
Trusts
hi.
everybody.
Yeah, she knows no strangers pretty much.
Yeah.
So we've already told her, like, honey, not everybody, don't say hi to everybody, okay? At the store, behind us, if she sees somebody, oh, hi. And they say, oh, what's your name? Jackie. It's like, please don't. Don't, not in this day and age.
And it's unfortunate because it is the cutest thing in the world.
It really
I
is.
love that she's sociable, and I don't want her to be.
She's so loving.
Yeah, I don't want her to live in fear or anything, but
Right.
we want her to be prepared and actually.
protected.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that, especially when it comes to a daughter. That's when
Yeah.
Papa Bear comes
Oh,
out.
yeah.
If anybody threatens little girl, it's
Yep.
you see a whole different side of Derek. Let's talk about the messages that society sends to us as parents. Obviously, with a biblical worldview, our views of what's right and wrong, and our roles as men and women are at odds with what we're receiving from the culture. How do you process that? Do you just avoid television altogether? How do you process this? And again, when our Jackie and Nathan get to that age where they're seeing things on TV that aren't the same as they are in your household, how do we process that and then first of all reject the message of the world, but then process that for our children?
Yeah, we've already started with some of the shows that we watch. We'll make it a family thing. So we'll have the kids out there with us, and but we make sure to keep dialogue open and talk about like if we watch something and there's something strange in there or something that we wouldn't do, or even in a commercial or something. We'll talk about it openly. And Jackie, she's still young, so she doesn't contribute much, but she listens.
Yeah, she knows. She's very observant.
So we'll talk about like how oh, well, that's different than what we do because the Bible says this, or any given thing. But we're trying to show them how to separate what they see on TV from the real world or what happens at home.
Well, let's get into some specifics here. There was a very popular movie put out about a year ago by Disney called Maleficent, which was a big budget movie, got a lot of advertising, and portrayed a whole different take on the Sleeping Beauty myth.
Yes.
Where Maleficent was portrayed as a sympathetic character. And when you looked at her, it was played by Angelina Jolie. So you got an A-list star, a big budget, top shelf computer graphics, just a really well done film. But it portrayed a character that looks like the biblical description of a demon, or at least the medieval interpretation of what a demon looked like, the black wings and everything, as the sympathetic character. And not only that, but she's performing, witchcraft and magic, which again the Bible tells us is forbidden.
Right.
But it's a movie that's clearly aimed at children,
The young ones, yeah.
And there are other movies out there where if you stop and step back and say, okay, it's a cute movie and it's really well done, but it features a witch. Well, but she's a good witch. How do you explain that to your children?
Right.
With something that complex, we just don't put it in front of her. Because we watched it first before we let, because we were, we remember the old Disney, but we wanted to actually watch it first. I ended up falling asleep during it, but
I didn't even get all the way through the movie. I just turned it off.
Yeah, after a while, we were like, okay,
that's not going to be for Jackie, because
it's too much to explain all that to a 4-year-old.
But yeah, and she had just turned 4 when that came out.
Right.
Or it came out before then, but when I was able to get it anyway to watch it, she had just turned 4. I'm like, well, maybe. No, I just turned it off, and I said, no, we're not going to let her watch that. It's too much to explain to her.
Too much too soon.
Yeah.
Well, and there are a lot of other films out there, of course, and this is kind of old now. I'm showing my age, because to me, Harry Potter is still a relatively recent phenomenon, but that's already old hat by now. But you've got other films and books aimed at teens, young adults, children. Percy Jackson and the Olympians and others that are portraying pagan gods. Or there are a number of young adult novels based on human angel hybrids, what we would call Nephilim, that are portrayed as sympathetic characters. And of course, for adults, we've got Lucifer, which just debuted on Fox television, saying the devil is a handsome, charming, debonair nightclub owner who helps the police solve murders. But for children, when they are seeing things based on Greek mythology, a lot of parents are inclined to think, well, Greek mythology is a bunch of stories. It doesn't really matter. Your impressions of this, and how are you going to handle this and filter this for Jackie and Nathan?
I think for us, it's the same way that we came to understand it. We're not going to put too much on them that they can't handle too early, but going on, we always want to keep the dialogue open and always explain to them because, it's one thing to, take the really hard-nosed approach and say, okay, none of this stuff in this house, Harry Potter's out, but they're going to go to friend's house. I mean, they live in the world, so they're going to be.
It's going to be
inevitable.
there whether you like it or not.
They're going to be exposed to it at some point, and if it's not handled right, I think they could actually, rebel and go, more sympathetic towards that stuff. Whereas I believe if we keep the dialogue open and explain to them as early as they can understand it, what this stuff represents, and teach them discernment, because I don't think it's necessarily the problem that kids are watching this, but that they don't have the discernment to really know what it's representing. If they have that, and I think if we can teach them that early on, that way when that stuff does come up, if a friend is like, here's my Harry Potter book, or whatever the thing is now, they can take it and maybe even read it, but still understand what it represents. And we're hoping and praying that if anything, it can teach them more about who the real enemy is, and instead of looking favorably on these things. So that's our hope.
This is a really good observation, and I think that's actually an approach that we as adults ought to apply as well. I know there were a number of Christian groups that expressed their opposition to Fox and the new series Lucifer.
Oh, yeah.
And Fox has also commissioned a new series based on the movie The Exorcist.
Oh, wow.
I'm not really holding up high hopes for Hollywood's treatment of the topic of demon possession and exorcism.
No kidding.
But my surprise was in seeing a couple of the comments by the groups that were protesting the series Lucifer, as saying, well, how can a family-friendly network do this? And my reaction is, well, have you not been paying attention? Because it's a broadcast, it's an advertiser-driven, mass appeal broadcast outlet. They're in it to make money. That's first and foremost their goal. They're putting it on TV because they believe enough Americans will watch the program so that they can put eyeballs in front of their advertisers' commercials. The product that Fox is really selling is eyeballs to their advertisers. And the problem for adults is that we as Americans think that we Christian Americans think that our proper response is to try to cut it off at the content production end. We need to stop it from being broadcast because it's wrong. Whereas if we Christians understood what was right and wrong, if we showed proper discernment in this supposed Christian nation, there would be no demand for programs like that, or many of all of the reality TV programs featuring the Kardashian family would disappear overnight because nobody would want them. We would all say, this is not edifying, this is not educational, this is not uplifting, there is no spiritual content in this, and I'm just not going to watch it. And then the advertiser-driven broadcast entities or the book publishers or the music producers would not be putting out stuff that we didn't want.
Yep.
We're trying to stop it at the wrong end.
Yeah, and we got to be careful with that too, because that's almost trying to put the responsibility of raising our kids on those corporations, on Fox. Because if I'm going to complain, you shouldn't air this program because my kids might see it. Well, what is that? And I'm not saying everybody that complains about it is like that.
Right.
But, I mean, I would be worried. What does that say about me? Shouldn't I be controlling what they watch and not relying on some corporation that's obviously not, a Christian-based corporation, to be in control of all that? So I absolutely agree with you.
And
we're trying to stop it on the wrong end.
Yeah, and I have no problem with expressing opposition to the to the type of programming.
Sure.
But our message needs to be directed at our children and our grandchildren.
It's
to
not.
say, okay, look, they put out this show. Here's why it is not biblical and why it may not be, edifying for you to watch this. Let them put out whatever they're going to put out.
Yep.
We don't have to, nobody's putting a gun to our heads and saying you must watch this program and accept the devil as a sympathetic character. And the same holds true for the producers of music that our kids consume or the books that our children read.
Yeah.
So our daughter read all of the Harry Potter books, but I read them too, and we discussed them. There are parents who would disagree, and maybe for different households, a different approach would have been better.
Sure.
But that's how we chose to deal with it, and very much sounds like what you have chosen to do as well.
Yeah.
What other things do you see in the culture around you? Again, you're more sensitive to this now because our daughter's been living on her own for a while. And so, I've got other concerns as a dad that don't relate to her setting her on the right path. I mean, she's on the path now. My job is more or less done in that regard. I'm just there when she needs help. What do you see in the world around you that concerns you that would probably be a concern for other young parents?
Social media. That's the biggest one for me, because I mean we're both we're both on Facebook and Twitter, and she's on a few more than I am. She's kind of teaching me, but
just exploring the world of the internet.
Yeah, and we're both on YouTube and things like that, and the things that some people, it's not all of them, but the things that a few people will say in a comment or they would never say that to somebody face to face or even on the phone in person. Yeah. Even though you have a profile picture and a name and everything, there's still it's almost like it's anonymous. Like there's not as much personability in that type of exchange. So we're extremely concerned about that. That's one of the biggest biggest hurdles in ministry, in our own ministries that we found, is just trying to moderate all of that. And it's to the point we just don't tolerate it. If somebody in a Facebook group or on YouTube or whatever says something that is abusive, we just block and delete them and don't think about it again. We're trying to raise our children in a way that they will adopt our way of doing it, instead of what most people do is they'll sit and argue and have these long chains, enormous threads, and nothing gets solved.
Awful lot of wasted time.
Nothing gets solved. Everybody's rooted even more in their original opinion. There's no common ground. I mean, it's divisive. That's all it is. So that's one of the biggest challenges for us, I think, is trying to, we learned this going along as adults, but trying to figure out how to raise our kids to know how to, just because it's social media, you still got to be polite. You still have manners, even though a lot of people out there won't. So here's how you deal with them. You just get rid of them, block them, and don't think about them again.
That's right.
Well, I know at SkyWatchTV recently disabled comments on the new videos that have been posted to our YouTube channel, and there were some people who took offense at that. And it wasn't that we were trying to shut down any discussion of what we produce on SkyWatchTV. It's just that we don't have the time to engage, because there were some who were just being deliberately abusive, and we don't have time to police it.
Yeah,
right.
And it only takes a few.
Yeah, but even more than that, we kind of alluded to this earlier in the discussion, that there are people who aren't what they claim to be on the internet. And as adults who've seen a little bit of the world, we have a natural sensitivity to that, and we're not going to reveal more of ourselves or our families to people we don't know than is really safe. But children don't have that filter yet.
Right.
And that is a problem. How much access and how soon are you thinking you're going to allow your children?
I've been talking a lot, so I'll let Christina take this.
When Jackie is ready and she fully understands, that's when I'll allow maybe introduce a little bit of social media or something like that. And as long as she understands, that's when I think that we would allow a little bit more leniency on there. Obviously, I would never want her to be alone in front of the computer.
Yeah, we'll keep a tight leash.
Yeah,
for sure.
because I don't want. There's webcams on cameras, or webcams on computers.
But there are webcams on devices like this too.
Everything.
Exactly, on everything nowadays.
Even TVs now.
Yes.
So, yeah, our smart TVs and things like that. It's all over the place. So I never want her to be in a room alone with that, doing anything on the computer, because she did have an old laptop of ours with the homeschooling devices because we were homeschooling her for a while, and the discs and everything like that, and it was not at all connected to the internet, and that was that. Well, that computer died, and now everything we have has a camera on it. So we're still, even to right now, as early as now, with the little bit that she does do, we do keep a tight leash on it, and we will. Absolutely. Yeah. Because anything can happen. People hack into even the baby monitors with the videos and everything. People hack into that all the time. Yeah. And as we move close into a more tightly interconnected world via the Internet of Things as it grows, where everything is interconnected, from your phones to your appliances to your clothing. Hey, your shoes are wearing out. You need a new pair. It's going to be even more difficult to keep the outside world from having eyes inside your home. Yep. I've talked to an expert on this who works in a ministry where they protect children, try to save children out of sexual trafficking. And she said, that's the thing that really came away from that interview with her, was that through devices like this, we are allowing people into our children's bedrooms that we would not allow past the front door. And so it's really, and we hope to have her on a future episode of SkyWatchTV, not confirmed yet, but that's a key topic as this world becomes ever more internet connected. Social media can be great. Facebook is a great tool for sharing and staying in touch with family members who are on the other side of the country. Yeah. But it's also a way for people that we don't know to contact our children and become part of their lives without our knowledge. The world is spending an awful lot of time, the God of this world, let me put it that way, spends an awful lot of time and energy trying to destroy the family unit. How do you try to protect your family in a spiritual sense?
It's all about, with everything we do, putting Christ in the center of it. And it's easy to say something like that, but it's hard to live it. I mean, literally everything. Like how we talk to our children, or like if our daughter doesn't want to brush her teeth, okay, how are we going to deal with that? Put Christ in the center of it. But I think raising our children on biblical values, as close to the text as we can get and as best as we can understand it, will give them the best chance to take those on for their adult life and hopefully continue the trend.
There is a, we see it on television. The reason there's so many images that are really inappropriate beamed into our homes via television is because the enemy knows that we men are visual creatures, and if they can lure us away into lusting after women who are not our spouses, well, all right, we're committing adultery right there. And if you divide the family unit, which is the smallest battle formation in the spiritual war, you've got people who are easier to pick off when they don't have that supporting fire from the rest of the unit. Yep. Let's talk a little bit about what you've been doing on the internet the last few years, so people who want to know more about Josh and Christina Peck can find your ministry online, the podcast, the webcast, and your Bible studies.
Sure. I have a program called The Sharpening Report, and right before the move, we just hit episode 100. So it was perfect how it all worked out. We got an even 100, so I'm taking a bit of a hiatus now to get settled in here and everything. So that's youtube.com/Josh Peck Disclosure, all one word. But I'm also doing daily videos just on various things, usually science related, but sometimes not, which is usually just 10, 20-minute videos based on various things, whatever God puts on my heart that day or whatever article comes up. So we do that, and she has a YouTube channel as well. Yes, I do.
Where's that?
youtube.com/Christina Peck, NE as for Neshama Essentials. I have my own home-based business where I make homemade all-natural products, lotions, body sprays, soaps, things like that.
We had something for like cracking in skin and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
I have all of that, and working on some products for men too, like hair gel and stuff like that. It's all not natural.
Beard conditioner and.
Oh well, I could see what I could do.
Well, we're in the Ozarks now. I see Josh has already got the facial hair done, so that could be a big seller here.
Exactly. So I do a lot of videos on health and beauty, and some baking, of course. With some desserts that I like, but mainly health and beauty tips.
Yeah, so, but Proverbs 31 woman, she's taking care of the household and doing what she can with her hands to bring in some more to help support the family.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'm right with you there, brother. So the sharpening report, what types of programs, what type of discussion do people find when they log on and see that?
A wide variety. It's me hosting, and every episode will have a guest, and we've had actually a similar guests that are on SkyWatch. So Mike Heiser has been on. I know you recently had him on. Tim Alberino has been on. So it's a similar program, but it's online through Google Hangouts. So it's me at home and the other person at home. So it kind of gives a different. You get to see the guest in a more natural element, and people have responded well to it. So I think if people enjoy this type of setup, they'll like that too.
Well, and if they enjoy that, then they should keep watching at skywatchtv.com, because we've got future web programs that will be exclusive to the internet, to our YouTube channel, and also to the Roku channel, the Skywatch TV channel on Roku, featuring Josh Peck. The working title right now, Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck.
Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck. Very exciting stuff. I can't wait to get started on that.
And if you've got to get an idea of what you might encounter there, we recommend Josh's books, Quantum Creation, an exploration of quantum physics through a biblical lens, and his second book, which deals with extra-dimensional vehicles, Cherubim Chariots. Now, these each sell for $19.99, so $40 value. Right now in the Skywatch TV store, you can get both books for $29.95 at $10 off, plus shipping and handling, and you'll find that deal online at skywatchtvstore.com. Josh and Christina, we're just delighted you're here. Like I said in the first program, there's an awful lot more laughter in the halls, and there was a lot here already, but even more since you guys have arrived, and we're just thankful if you're here. Look forward to whatever comes our way.
It's such a big blessing for us. We're really blessed.
And we thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is Skywatch TV. The supernatural realm is real, and we humans are naturally curious about it. That's why there are so many television reality shows featuring ghost hunters and alien chasers and mediums and psychics. Well, by and large, the Christian church avoids these controversial topics, even though we have the authoritative book on the subject. That's our mission at Skywatch TV, is to address issues of the paranormal and the supernatural from a Christian, a biblical perspective. But we depend on your support to do it. To find out how you can support Skywatch TV prayerfully and financially, please log on to our website, skywatchtv.com. And keep watching as we keep watch at Skywatch TV.